All right. Good evening, everyone. This is Granville D'Souza, and
Mary Nicole Teo. How are
good.
you, Granville?
I'm good. How are you, Miss Marion Nicole Teo?
I'm fine, thank you very much. And I hope all our listeners and our viewers are feeling good this Thursday evening, being so nice and cool here in Singapore. Don't know how it is in the other countries, but we
Yeah,
have wonderful weather.
it was pouring cats and dogs, so such a wonderful day. Although the topic we are going to talk about, well, we can't say it's wonderful, but I think it's meaningful. So
For
let's
sure.
use the topic for this evening, and that is dealing with crisis in disruptive times. Now, of course, this is a common topic in the last, say, 2 or 3 months because of what has been happening, right? Because of COVID, COVID-19, and nobody has been excluded from dealing with challenges, I must admit, right? But I mean, of course, certain businesses have been thriving. But I can tell you, I think, especially when it first started, every individual couldn't have said like, wow, yes, this is going to be a great opportunity for everyone, because nobody could have known what was in store, right? So,
Exactly.
so we decided, since we do train resilience and none of us excluded from it. So we
Yeah.
thought we will, first of all, we'll introduce this topic, and then halfway through it, we will call on our American friend. So, Marion, I know this might be personal and we could be divulging a lot about our personal lives, but I might as well start with you. And depends what
Thank
you
you.
say. Based on what you say, then I'll pace you. So let's see
All
how
right.
it feels to be vulnerable. So in the last, either could be 3 months, 6 months, or maybe a year, did you encounter anything that disrupted your life, disrupted your sanity, your emotional well-being, anything of that sort?
Well, honestly, over the last year, 2019 was a pretty good year for me. So really no complaints, very grateful for all the blessings. I think in terms of what we were doing with our business, changing from EQ Asia to EQ World was something that I was really looking forward to. And 2020 seemed to have started pretty well. So we were pretty excited, or I at least was really excited about what was going on. Of course, we knew at that point that there was a virus going on in China, right? And there was a little bit of concerns, but then we thought, we managed SARS, we were able to cope with it, so it wouldn't be very different this time round. I think the start of the year, when we started to see clients pulling out of classes, telling us that, okay, we won't run the class, this program, and your calendar my calendar becoming more and more empty, that kind of got me into a bit of a panic.
Yeah.
So I think it was a bit of an emotional roller coaster in the beginning. But then on the good side of it, Gran, you and I, we've been talking about moving our business online for a long time, right?
Maybe 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've been planning it. So I think, the pandemic really, it gave us that push, the push that we needed. Right.
Yeah.
It kind of gave us a bit of a wake up call. Like, it's about time that we started to reinvent ourselves. We'd already talked about it. We planned it. So, yeah, on the personal side, it's been pretty okay, other than the fact that I can't travel, and I miss some family members and friends. But yeah,
Well,
what about you?
life has been good for you, I see, in that sense.
Not too bad. Not too bad. Yeah. No
I can't say
complaints.
great, but no
Seriously.
complaints. Yeah, okay. So then, I guess I can't pace with you. I think I'll share something that happened to me last year. I won't share the actual incident, but of course, that big wake up call I had last year because of something that happened, right?
Yeah.
Something, I won't share the true nature of it, but in short, it was a financial issue where some letter came in and suddenly I knew I was going to lose quarter of my savings as a result of that incident, right? Now, if I go back to that incident, and this is, oopsie, oh,
Oops.
ah, let me put that on.
Again, remember, Grant, 10 years ago, I had my major struggle. I think that was one of the biggest hurdles that I had to cross. So now everything else, and when I look at it in terms of perspective, when I do a so-called little bit of a comparison, I know I can cope with anything that comes my way after what I went through 10 years ago. So
And that-
yeah, sorry, you were saying.
And I guess that can be you only see the advantages of it, much later. Of course, when you're
Oh,
first,
yes.
how many of us are masochists and we can easily say, yes, I'm so glad this has happened to me, right? Yeah, that can happen 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road.
No, but it was a good learning journey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great learning journey. So in my case, I remember this because it's pretty fresh. This happened actually now it's what, July. No, it actually happened around February. So in short, I do recall, just like most other people, whenever they go through a really horrific incident, in my case, I thought because I'm training EQ and resilience and I can weather the storm a lot easier. And that was totally nonsense. I definitely struggled. And I remembered procrastinating for 3 months because I did not want to face the pain in terms of what I needed to do to get face to face with the problem. And then I realized it was just too much for me to handle, that had I not done something about it, had I not started to do something about it, this thing will drag on for a much longer time than what I thought it could have been, right? In terms of maybe 6 months. So that's when I reached out. So one of the two things I wanted to say is reaching out to someone else, right? And then I guess one of them was you, right? You being someone who's very detailed. I needed someone who was detailed to look into what I needed to do as well. So reaching out was a huge one. And of course, who you choose to reach out to, right? Sometimes you can reach out to someone who's a good listener, that's fine. And sometimes we reach out to people who can really help. But this willingness to get out there and ask someone and talk to someone about it, I think is a key step.
Yeah. And I think that's such an important point, because honestly, when I look back over those years that I was going through those issues, right, I was in total denial. You talk about a few months for yourself where you didn't really want to look at it. I think we all go through that phase of denial for a while. And there's so much anger, there's so much blame, like, how could this happen to me? Why am I being punished in this way? So of course, there's so many emotions that you're going through. And for me, I think my pride at some point got in the way, that I just didn't want people to see weakness or that I needed help. So I refused to let anyone know. So I really needed to ask for help. And that was a big learning for me also. Yeah.
So seeking help is definitely huge. The other one for me, and let's see if this resonates with you. It's something that we do in our daily lives. So for example, let's go towards something that we could have all experienced when we were young, right? I don't know about you, but I used to love racing on my bicycle with my neighbors, right? We go down a hill and up hills, and then we crash against each other, try to push them against the edge. Anyway, rough neighbors I had. But sometimes we would fall, and it would scrape our legs from the knee right down to the shin, to sometimes even much lower, and the wound will last for weeks, right? So that's really a physical wound. And and what does it take? It takes time. It takes a bit of ointment. It takes iodine and the works.
Some tender loving care.
From yourself. That's right. Tender loving care from yourself.
Okay, like mummies usually come in at that point.
That's right. Yeah, but not at that age.
Okay.
There's more pride than call mommy to do your wounds. But so talk about emotional wounds. Time heals. Time does heal. But I guess when it happens to you, you always have this thing on your mind. Yeah, but when is it going to heal? When is it going to be okay? Is it going to take 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months? That big question mark on your mind is what troubles you, because you do not know how long this is going to last.
Exactly. Yeah.
But let's see for you, before I ask you that question, I'll just say what this part which helped me deal with it. And that is, sometimes you don't know, but if you just go through that process, time does just heal, right? Because you find answers, you think through it, wisdom comes from either from your dreams or when you talk to someone and you read a book, but time heals. And I think all of us try and understand that, when you're going through pain is pain, but it's a necessary evil we all have to traverse.
Yeah.
How about you?
Difficult when you talk about time. Yes, time heals all wounds, but time tends to be moving extremely slowly when you're going through pain or sadness. And me, I'm such an escape artist that I wouldn't want to go through any kind of the pain. So I'm going to get myself distracted. And I think 10 years ago, that's all I was doing, distracting myself, right? Yeah. Whether it was partying, whether it was drinks, whether it was clubbing, whether it was work, going and volunteering and stretching myself to the limit until my body crashed, right? But then, 5 years ago when my dad passed, I think that was really my turning point to learn to actually sit with pain, that, when something like this happens, you have to stay with the emotion. You have to be there to not just support everybody else, but work through the issues. And I think the problem with a lot of us is we're so impatient. We want results quickly.
Yeah.
And so not being able to put a time to when is this going to heal? When is this going to get better? That uncertainty is very destabilizing, right? You lose control. You feel like, your whole world is crashing down on you and falling apart. So, it's not easy. And I think it's hard when people turn to you and they just say to you, hey, be strong. Hey, get over it. Or, hey, it'll all turn out fine. Because nobody knows that. And, it's frustrating sometimes when you get people who try to show you empathy, but then at the same time, they're not giving the best kind of support. So at the end of the day, I think asking for help is so important, but at the same time, you've got to find something from within you that's going to help you get through it.
That's right.
So family support, definitely helpful, friends, but you got to also find that within yourself.
I've had some interesting experiences with my clients, and I'm sure you deal with very similar clients where, especially in a breakup, right? Sometimes breakup, it could be in a relationship. Sometimes it could be in a marriage, when things go bad in a marriage. And sometimes my clients will ask me, Gran, this pain I'm going through has been there for the last 1.5 years. And the question I frequently get is, when is it going to disappear? Right? And nobody knows, right? Nobody knows. Sometimes, of course, it's almost like the analogy of getting, if one of your pet dies, right? Then one way to replace it, of course, get a new dog and it heals pretty fast. But the same thing should not apply with human beings, right?
Yes, I was just going to say that, Granville. Okay, so I'll just keep replacing my partners. Thank you.
So I said it should not apply the same way. I didn't say it should apply the same way. I said it should not apply the same way.
I'll just say I'm having hearing problem at the moment. This is the earpiece.
Right. But I mean, if you look back at that, sometimes we don't replace it with someone else, but we replace it with something that can help heal. It could be through art. It could be through a hobby. It could be through learning something new, right? So our minds get a little, that distraction helps, right? At some point, it does help in a way. Okay, so right. I think a couple of tips we hopefully meant to help people think through. But if you see any tips down there coming from the phone, also let us know.
Well, there's a lot of hellos coming in from all different places. We have a lot of people from Singapore. Hi, Maggie. Hi. Yeah, so many of them, right? Malaysia. Quite a few from Malaysia. So thank you for joining us. I'm glad to see a lot of y'all.
Hi, everyone. Later on, when Marion is talking, I'll check on the phone. So now.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, but I think, in all the things that we've been talking about, like when we do coaching and stuff, it's a lot of time it's been about work, it's been about relationships, whether it's personal with their family, or it's work relationships that they have with people. But I think COVID-19 has brought about so many more challenges for so many people. I mean, like for me, getting through the process was really about being able to volunteer and do service for others. But the fact now, it's not so easy. Like last week, we talked about passion, and, I'm so passionate about doing these things. So it becomes so much more challenging. And, eventually when we have our guest come on, he's going to talk a little bit about that. So how has it been for you dealing with the crisis with COVID-19?
Okay, before I answer that, let's ask our guests some questions, right? Whoever's online, just let's ask them, what has been your best way of coping with a crisis? Whether it's a distraction or whether it was a healing moment or just something you did that just made it so much better. Whether it's 20%, 30%, 40%, I was like totally healed. Now, so back to COVID-19. Now, I remember coming back from Jakarta. If our Indonesian friends are watching, they'll know the exact incident, because when I was training in Jakarta, they were saying, how is Singapore going? Before things started in Indonesia, they were saying, how is Singapore going? So I say, I'm not so sure because things haven't gone big. But then by the time I got back on the 1st or 31st of January, things really started. And then of course we started to see things getting worse, right? So, okay, now when the blast came, of course, our biggest fear was there. Most of my contracts were gone. But what I want to add is this. Many of us, I think, in fact, I was going to ask the group, I think the biggest problem many people are going to face is the loss of their jobs, right? Loss of the jobs. And if you look at the number of companies closing down, like even today's newspapers, I saw Isetan in Gem, we see Esprit, we see restaurants, we see Starbucks, 400 outlets are closed. Starbucks, one that's open, so many outlets open a day.
I think in the first with our circuit breaker, during those 2 months, I think they said about 8,000 businesses in Singapore closed. 8,000, or was it the first 2 weeks? I can't remember. It was quite a
5,000
long time
today,
ago, but it
I think.
totally shocked me. So yeah, I think that's really scary, right? So again, even with the hotline that I'm holding and talking to people, that has been their greatest fear, even though they've been assured that you're working from home, it's okay, but they're feeling that their jobs are definitely at stake. And some in the, F&B, it's been immediate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
So keeping on the jobs front, we'd like to ask our guests also, well, our guest after this is obviously going to share something, but we'd like to ask those who are viewing, how did you manage to maximize the last 3 months, right? So we can share a few things. I believe, I think I totally maxed it myself, if I could say. Like, for example, this show, I think this would be an interesting blessing, right?
Yes, very.
People to now come online. Well, let's see how long it lasts.
As long as you and I still have things to talk about. But you know what? We've been saying that for the last 10 years. One day we'll run out of things to talk about. And what happens? We still talk a hell of a lot.
You still talk a hell of a lot, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
really help.
Blame me, as usual.
Honestly, it helps a lot, man.
Anyway.
Every time I pace you, it definitely helps a lot.
Yay. Thank you, Marion. Well done. Well done.
Right,
Okay.
right, Joe. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No, but this has been a blessing for us, definitely.
right. So that's one, and then of course, starting the YouTube, which
Yeah.
again, that would have come from nowhere. But I do think what can be done is definitely to learn something new, which you believe is trending, right? If you think something is trending, and if it's totally something you were not into in the last say, year or so, but you feel it's hotting up, latch onto it. And the best part, I think you and I know that everything seems to be on YouTube. Even if you feel you can't pay for a subscription, you need to buy certain videos to learn, don't buy. It's all on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
So it's on YouTube, you can learn from there.
Totally. Exactly. Yep. And I think in last session also, when we talked about finding what your passion is, right? I mean, in this period of time, I think for a lot of people having had to work from home, spend more time with the family, spend more time in the kitchen, spend more time, you have to get creative. There's no other way to survive it. You have to, you're boxed into these four walls, or whether you're in a small apartment or a big house, didn't matter. You had to find a way to manage. So, I think just dealing with the family, dealing with the work, dealing with everything that was going on, we definitely had to find things to do and be creative about it. So definitely learning new skills was very important. I'm very, who are you laughing at?
No. This fat E is telling me to sing a song, or telling you to sing a song.
Oh, really? Okay. Is it not because of the last time round when our music didn't come on? This time our music did start. Yeah.
The problem is I was looking at 1 week ago. Oh my God, I think I better just shut this phone.
Okay, you're very distracted. Okay, this is what Granville does. He gets distracted. No, it's okay. I'm teasing you. Okay, anyway, so going back to, with the jobs, and I think our guest Mark will be sharing with us a little bit about some of the challenges, because in the States, it's quite a different situation. But I mean, wherever you are, it doesn't matter what country you're at, I think we're all going through different phases. No matter how careful we try to be in terms of our, the alerts and all that, and even our ability to travel. Remember, we were in the Middle East, I think was it February?
Yeah.
The big concern for everyone, and we came back and we found that after that traveling was not allowed, and we saw so many more contracts being closed, and that panic time for us was really about reinventing ourselves, quickly learning the skills that are going to support our business, and of course the teamwork between you and I. So I think having a team to work with, or at least having someone to bounce ideas off, is so important. Yeah.
I also think, what we are witnessing in Singapore, we are actually really very, very fortunate so far. If you looked at what we spoke about, it was about jobs,
Yeah.
Now we are about very shortly, probably in the next, so Mark, get ready, not yet, but get ready. So we're about to talk to Mark Wilson from the US, and he's in Oklahoma. In fact, today, whether it was in the newspapers or the news on TV, that Oklahoma had a huge spike. So let's find out from him in terms of numbers. I'm not sure what event happened, but there's a huge spike in COVID cases. And he is in Oklahoma. And of course, our great friend, Andrea Golden Pogue, is also in Oklahoma. And they're dealing with not just spike in cases, but the number of deaths, right? And that's a totally different ball game. So dealing with crisis, jobs is one thing, death of your job, talk about
And then, of course, family members. I mean, do you know anybody who got COVID-19? I mean, I have two friends in the States also. One has passed on, bless his soul, and the other one, well, he doesn't seem to have recovered. He says that his reacting, his time to react, he feels he's psychologically affected by it, right? He's still having breathing difficulties. His motor control is not as good as what it used to be. Moreover, he was somebody who was very, very sporty and very fit. So it's really scary. And to lose family members or to lose friends, that's also really painful.
Yeah. So we will definitely discuss some thoughts on this when Mark comes on, because we don't want to talk about this before Mark comes on. Otherwise, we'll be talking about the same thing once he comes on. So we'll try and play with some
loop around. Let's loop back. Okay, what time is it now? Let's just check, because we'd like to have him come on around 8:25, like that. 8:30.
Actually, what? Because he's listening in, we might as well bring him on, and then we can at least have a triadic discussion about topics that we did not plan yet.
Okay. I don't know. I think we did plan some questions, but I don't know whether we've covered them or did we even go there. So yes, welcome to the Granville and Marion world, everybody who's listening in. We plan, but we do very different things.
Yeah, because it's not supposed to be planned. Once it's planned, it just becomes messy.
Highly flexible.
So Mark, if you're listening in, if you wow,
he wants to be admitted. You see, he wants to come in. All right. So you know what? Forget it. I had a little slide to show, but I'm not going to. You'll see his face very soon. Okay. So let me just share with everyone. I met Mark some time back. Hi, Mark.
Hello there.
When he attended our certification. Yes. So let me introduce you, Mark. So Mark is a trainer. He's a coach. He comes from Oklahoma. When I met you sometime back at our certification, honestly, you are a funny guy. You're really passionate about what you do. You've always got really great questions that you ask. I know I prepared some things, but I can't find them at the moment. But early this morning, I happened to look at your Facebook page. All right. And Mark Wilson has marked my words. And let me just read what was on that. Okay, it says, when everything seems to be going against you, remember that the airplane takes off against the wind, not with it. And I was like, whoa. And that wasn't even your today's post. That was a memory that was shared like 4 or 5 years ago. So coincidence? I don't think so. Everything happens for a reason. Yeah? So welcome, Mark. It's so good to see you.
Good morning.
Yeah, Mark, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. And by the way, so today I really, again, because I do wake up very early, and when I wake up that early, I can't remember what I do. So either I tuned on to BBC or it was Singapore News, I'm not so sure. But they did say that something happened in Oklahoma and there was a spike in COVID cases. Is that true, or was that me dreaming at 3 a.m.?
I think I haven't seen the news about that. I know we went up about 650 or 600.
Did he just hang? Have we lost him? Uh-oh. Okay, then I shall quickly take this opportunity to very quickly show.
Right. So Mark,
since I prepared it, I'm going to show everybody that was what he had. Can you all see the slide?
Yeah.
Ben, can you see the image? Okay, so then we have the picture of Mark, and then from his Facebook, I took that picture of that quote that he did. So it's just so timely, such a nice reminder. Okay,
and Mark,
he's back.
Since you're there, is that a quote you put every day? Do you change the quote, or is that
I started that, I started that probably about 2012 at a previous job that I had before this one. And
my God, that's only like 38.
Yeah, and it was just an opportunity for me to try to post something positive for people, because I always had people coming by my office, and I thought it's kind of your quote of the day. So that's the way I started, was doing quotes of the day that I liked, and that happened to be one of them. And then I kind of started writing my own, and it kind of became a thing of where I'd write my own quote on the board. And now it's kind of even graduated into, I try to post a video on my Facebook page every day of talking about something that's either topical for me or I think that other people might be struggling with.
Wow. So your quotes change, well, not every day, right? But every other day?
They were, actually, I did the mark my words every day. I made sure I changed that quote every day. And then the videos are a little harder to do every day. Of course. But I have been managing to do a few lately. So
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
Very
I've been
brief.
watching them. Really good. Very
Thank
nice.
you.
Short and sweet. I think having that impactful message is really so important. And people sometimes just need to hear, a nice something to inspire them in the morning or in the evening. So
Yeah.
great job. That's why I said he's passionate about life and he's passionate about helping people. Thank
That's it.
you.
That's right. Thank you, Mark. Mark, when I spoke to you during the week, I know you've lately been going through something. I know we are going straight there instead of giving you a little prelude and give you some space to breathe. We are shooting straight. But I think, because we have not as much time, we'd like to know, there's something that recently happened to you. Would you be willing to go there and just share something
Yeah,
about?
100%. Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the healing process as well, right? And I'm okay with going straight through it because life kind of does that to it, right? Life doesn't give us a lot of room to breathe sometimes.
That's
It's
right.
just the reality of what we have to deal with. And last Tuesday I was informed that they weren't going to be renewing my contract here at my place of work. I've been here 3 years. I've been within this system that I work in for 26. So for the first time in 26 years, I'm not going to be doing what I've always been doing. And that was a very unexpected turn of events. So it's been a challenge to deal with. And I remember sitting, and I give you guys all the credit for this truly, because over the last few years, I've been trying to continue to grow myself and get some tools that are going to allow me to help other people deal with I didn't realize I was going to be using these for myself. But in the moment when I'm told, hey, listen, we're going a different direction, at first I was taken aback, and then I heard myself asking, so I need you to be really honest with me and tell me where my failures were. I need to know what I did wrong so that I can learn from this moment, because I have to believe this moment's trying to teach me something. And I was really a little shocked at myself, because that's not something I would have said historically in that situation, right? There would have been much more anger or uncertainty and I was trying to actually learn from that moment, which is, that's fascinating to me that I've grown to that point. And I believe anybody can do that if you have those skills and abilities to do it.
Excellent. So, Mark, I mean, that's really fantastic. Sometimes we tell ourselves this is what we could do, and that was what you were able to do. I'm just wondering, when you did whatever you did, was it something that was planned, or did it just emerge, or how did that
No, it just came out at the time. I was, I actually remember during some of our training courses, it's about recognizing those triggers within you and how you can then change the narrative in your own mind to try to get to a better place. And it happened so organically. I mean, I couldn't have been more blown over when I was told what they told me, because it's been 3 years of phenomenal performance reviews and great, things. And then all of a sudden it was a 180 out. And I was really, I think in 10 times I said, I don't even know what to say. And then I just asked, I said, help me grow from this. I have to be able to learn something from it, just to even be able to wrap it up and put it where it needs to be, right? I mean, part of that is dealing with the whole situation. But I was able to immediately start down that road. Now, I've had relapses over the last week where it's not good, right? I spend a lot of time really digging into what happened, what I did wrong. But I'm always able to pull back out of that and try to move towards something positive.
Yeah.
I think that's a normal cycle to go through. It's really amazing to hear, Mark, that you managed to, pick yourself up so very quickly. It's not really easy to do for a lot of people. I mean, I can recall, like for myself, hiding away for a few months because I didn't know how to deal with the whole situation. As I said, the denial hit me and the anger hit me very badly, right? I was so angry with the world. I was so angry with everybody around me. It was so crazy, so I'm really proud of you to hear that, yes, we're going to have those moments where we're going to fall back, but be kind to yourself, because it's normal, it's natural. Don't beat yourself up so much, but then within yourself that you can still pull that in, and sometimes it takes a big shock like this to kick us a bit, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I'm a big believer that if a door closes, another one's opening. These things all lead us to something, and if I can stay in that mindset, then whatever that is will become more clear quicker if I'm open to seeing what's available and what it's going to look like.
That's right.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So, I mean, so that's something great that you had done at that point when it happened. What have you been able to do after that? Of course, in the moment, it's always good to have a strategy. And then, of course, that could have been an internal strategy. Then after that, how are you coping with the whole thing? Has there been something you...
Luckily, I've got a good support network. I've got really good friends. Even the staff that I supervise here have been super supportive. I mean, they're wonderful people that I love more than I can tell you. I mean, they're just good people, and they've really been supportive and tried to help prop me up and say all the things that you say when someone's dealing with something like this, right? So I've leaned on their positivity a lot to help me kind of get through some of this. And then it's just really kind of taking a personal inventory of what the options look like, and then really trying to get pretty practical about, how I want to move forward. And practicality is not easy for me because I think I'm a little more on the creative side. It's harder for me to get really granular about some things. So that's going to be a challenge for me moving forward, but I think that'll also help me in that area. So as a byproduct of some of that, I'll grow in a different area as well.
Yeah. I mean, having a little bit of that structure is always good, but you need to also give yourself a little bit of flexibility because everything is so unpredictable. We can have a plan, but don't be too tough on yourself, when it doesn't happen the way we want it to go. And I mean, we've talked about this, whether it's through our EQ program or, understanding the Enneagram and how our types work, right? But it's just so important to recognize what's going on within you, right? And, I think we're really just hearing whatever happened and to see you and know that you're still coping pretty well with it. That's so good. That's really good. And I'm glad to hear that you have that support system. That's really important.
So, but Mark, what do you see as the biggest opportunity ahead of you, if supposing you were to take some few right steps in front of you?
I've got, obviously working with Andrea is going to be a big piece of what I do moving forward. I think that's sitting down with some people that have a really clear vision of what they want for themselves and how I can help support something like that and create that vision for myself as well. So I think I really want to get with some people that have some of that drive like Andrea does to kind of create that map for myself so I can then at least create some goals and some steps to move myself along that path. If not, I'm going to get stuck here and it's really easy to stay in that place and feel sorry for yourself and feel bad because this is happening to you. And not that those aren't valid feelings because I get that I have to have those and feel, but I hate staying in that space. I don't function well in that space, and I tend more toward the positive if possible. So
right, I'd like to share something now here. Back in the year 2000, I remembered when this time I chose to leave my job because I was just looking forward to getting sick because I just could not go back and train something which I had no more heart in. But talk about not knowing what I was going to do, not having a plan, basically I had no clue. But I remembered one thing, and that is allowing myself the permission to allow some space for something to drop in front of me. Now, I know that sounds like wishful thinking. It sounds like optimism. It sounds like some airy-fairy law of attraction thing, but funny when you allow yourself the permission to just allow, and amazing things happen. Within a month or two, somebody called me and said, what's your next 2 years going to look like? And I know this is not advice we can tell people, don't worry, in 1 month, you're going to have 2 years. It doesn't happen that way. But what does happen is when you do believe in yourself and you allow things to happen, and of course, taking a little bit of action by talking to people, then we allow that space to be filled when we allow that space to be empty first. So the empty space creates the possibility for space. What do you think of that? Do you think that's
I think that's thank you for that. I think that's a really big awareness point for me to be able to do that because you can fill that. I think we don't like empty space as people. Naturally, we want to fill it with something because our world moves at a pace. We've got our phones and everything in front of us all the time. So I think I need to be aware to be able to create that space so something like that can land. So if you don't just dismiss it out of hand, there might be something really powerful that comes my way that I could be available for.
Yeah. And I think, it's really so important for you to, we've always talked about this, right? Everything happens for a reason, right? And I think sometimes when we talk to certain people, just saying something to them like, giving yourself permission to allow whatever to happen, they do understand that. But at the same time, it's like, okay, this self-doubt that creeps into them, I'm useless, I'm worthless, I deserve these terrible things to happen. I must have done something in my past, right? So there's a lot of of beating themselves up on a lot of that issue. So what advice would you give to someone what would you say to them? I mean, we definitely said a lot of things to people. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I think that's the challenging part, because even I deal, and I'm someone that trains this, right? I train leadership for people. I train how to get through some of these things, but even I have that voice in the back of your head that's always talking to you, that wants to beat you down, because it's those self-limiting beliefs that you've got to be able to, write them on a piece of paper, crumble it up and throw it in the trash every single day. That's something you have to. And even if it takes you doing that physically, just as a way to put those things away for the day, they're going to come back in those moments when things get ultra challenging. That reel is going to play in your head like, you did this to yourself. This is what you deserve. And you've got to be able to get rid of that narrative, because all that narrative is going to do is keep you stuck in place, and you're going to build walls that don't allow you to even see anything around you. So I think if I could give anybody advice, I think that's a really good tool to do. Write down those things that you think that voice tells you in your head, crumble them up, throw them in the trash, and get on with your day and go be positive and figure out how you can help people. Because if you're helping people, you'll get everything you could ever ask for. If you just help other people, that's a Zig Ziglar thing, and I love that.
Yeah.
And I find that was something so important for me also in getting out of the issue that I was in. And it was by helping other people and recognizing that my situation wasn't as bad. There were a lot of other people who had a hell of a worse case. There was something else that they were struggling with that I couldn't fathom struggling with. So in that way, I could count my blessings. But I love that idea. I think I did that. I wrote things down and I burned them. But of course, you can't really do a lot of burning of stuff and flinging it out of your window in Singapore, because you're going to get a fine. Next thing you know, Marion Nicole is behind bars in jail. So watch out over there in Oklahoma.
I'll know you not.
Thank you.
I think Mark said to burn the paper, not start a bonfire,
Well, maybe I had a lot of negative self-talk then, so I had to have a bonfire. Again, remember, I could go and do a moon dance with one of you. Yeah, okay, anyway, we won't go there.
But I definitely do believe, talk about the psychology of introducing or planting a seed in your mind. And sometimes when we plant that seed in our mind, we have to allow it to germinate, right? So once you plant it, then that means really planning or talking about it with someone. You've already planted that seed. So, and that's what I mean by this part about allowing yourself the permission to allow. And that's where the germination happens, right? You plant it, and then with time, it starts to germinate through additional thinking, planning, talking, conversing, engaging. Yeah. So I think that's definitely something.
I think it's super important, right? Because you've got to be able to allow the right things in, right? The negative thoughts and the things that are after you. I've always kind of used the analogy that that's like a thief in your house. You wouldn't allow a thief in your house. You would force them out. You've got to do the same thing with those negative thoughts and those pieces. You've got to keep those things out and allow the right things in.
Yes.
But they always have a way of sneaking. Sorry.
No, carry on.
Yeah. They always have a way of sneaking themselves in, right? It's like those weeds that we put, no matter how good the soil is, no matter how clean the water is, no matter how much sunshine there is, the weeds are going to grow. So you need to have, I think, having a mentor, or as you said, having the support system, but they have to be the right kind of support system. I think sometimes the challenge for a lot of people is that they get into a space of being with people who might be in the same boat, and they get together and they have their sad festival. They feel sad for each other. They feel sorry for each other. And then they start to blame the world. And over time, that just, it just festers. It's like a cancer that starts to spread, right? And so they have to be so careful that somebody needs to be stronger and somebody has to stay positive. And even if everybody looks at you and goes, what are you so happy about, Mark? You've lost your job. Don't be crazy. Just be like the rest of us. You've got to stand for yourself and say, no, I'm not going to let this affect me. And as much as I can, I'm going to be the one watering the good water and giving you the sunshine. So keep it up.
Well, and I'm really, really fortunate. I've got a good support system that I think maybe a lot of people don't have. I have Granville and Marion to continue to drive me a little bit and challenge me in ways that make me have to move forward a little bit, right? Because you need those people as well. It's not just the people that want to hug it out, but it's the people that are like, okay, what's next? What's your next step? How are you going to, when are you going to do that? When you've talked about it, when are you going to make it, you need those people as well that can help you navigate some of that. And I'm thankful for you too.
Yeah, well, we are thankful for you too. And of course, Miss Golden Pogue, who's listening in, I'm pretty sure. This word serendipity, serendipitous, accidental bouts of good luck. And sometimes those accidental bouts of good luck, in a way, of course, it's strange to say because the reality has hit you this week. Would you ever consider this to have been your accidental bout of good luck? Question mark.
Maybe, I think that's going to take some
Time.
some space, right? I think it's going to take a little bit of a removal from this moment to be able to, because I can certainly look back on other sentient events that were challenging and realize that those absolutely put me in a place I needed to be
That's right.
where I was going. And Andrea's, it's mentioned that you mentioned Andrea, that's like her favorite movie, Serendipity. So it's pretty interesting to use that term.
Really?
You learned something new today.
That's pretty
You learned something
fascinating.
new.
So you should have Andrea on at some point and do that as well. But yeah,
All right.
that's I think that's absolutely, I'll be able to do that at some point. I know in 6 months, 8 months, I'll be able to look back and go, that's exactly what needed to happen for me, even though I didn't realize it at the time.
No, but you said something so important. You need to give yourself that space, right? I mean, it's good to have people to drive and push and ask you to set goals and all that, but it has to be in your time, in your space. You got to find the balance between the push and the pull, right? Because, you're going to get that push from the positive, but you're also going to get the pull back from the negative. So you have to find your own space. And I think sometimes being able to just sit with that, keep, not having to do anything, but as Grant said, also just to allow what's meant to happen. And then, of course, we ask ourselves the usual questions. What's the worst that can happen if I don't take action? And what's the worst that can happen if I do take action? And then, you do the balance out and we figure it out for ourselves, because sometimes a lot of people can give us great advice, but they don't know us and they don't know what we might be, the demons that we might be challenged with.
One way, Mark, I handle crises, which of course I'm frequently in denial when crisis happens. But I ask myself these questions, which brings me into a certain trajectory. And that is, now that this has happened, what is the gift? If this did not happen, what would I not have learned? So for example, I'm really looking back at real situations which I faced whenever a crisis happened. And so again, this part about now that this has happened, in what way is it a gift? If I look at circumstances now, how things have massively changed. Now you're in the learning industry, the two of us are in the learning industry. How things have massively changed in terms of how we can engage the world. Like, let's put it this way. Had COVID not happened, I do not know how much we're going to engage each other from other countries or as far away as the United States. Like, now is your morning and now is our night. How often are we going to have these kinds of conversations, and how training is actually moving? So in a way, it's a kind of sign to tell us, hey, the way you've been training for the last 26 years needs to change. By the way, I'm not telling you that. I'm just suggesting that it's like,
well, when you're on board with us, you move with us. A bit of a...
Well,
he's an American. He's used to hearing that.
I think you're right, Grant. I think that's and I think some of that happens. I think those things are maybe always in place there, but maybe you're not aware that those things are in place, right? Because this could have happened, 2 years ago. We could have done the same thing, but you needed this event in this space to be able to, it kind of forced us in that direction a little bit. And sometimes that has to happen.
That's right.
The kick in the butt.
Yeah, we just have to embrace what we have, right? So 1.5 years ago, I was at ATD, American, no, it's not normal called American, but Association of Training and Development, right? Mm-hmm. Half of the lectures and the features in the conference were all about technology. And would you believe, Mark, 2 years ago, when I looked at the technology, I said, this will never work. It's been there for the longest time. I've been training in classes for the longest time. I've never needed this crap technology. And now I wish I had attended all those sessions, because they would have been really handy.
Yes.
So, but now it has forced us to be in these circumstances, and we got almost like no choice.
Yes.
Yeah. But we're blessed to have an industry that is still thriving in this kind of situation, because there's so many businesses that cannot go online, and they really do depend on, the face-to-face, the what do you call it, brick and mortar kind of style, right? But they need to have the people come in. So those people are suffering. And again, the advice that we've been giving them is retrain yourself, find your passion, find out what you're good at, right? And that's why our topic last week, to start with passion.
Right. Just one thing, Marion, I don't know, but I don't seem to be getting the feeds. I think something is cut off.
I'm getting lots of messages, and I've been wanting to read them, but I have actually just been liking them. So a lot of comments here.
Any comments we can address from there? Because I'm not getting a thing. It's either my phone, I should change from Samsung to something else, or what?
Are we selling? No, we're not selling brands, right? Not yet, right? Are they paying us for advertising? No. Okay, then let's not talk. I'm being naughty now. Okay, okay. Let's see. Tan Huat Chai.
Taiwan Chai, right? Of course, from Malaysia.
Okay. Okay. He
Teacher.
balances it during the lockdown period by counting his blessings, being grateful for whatever he has, being more mindful of financial situation, getting involved in spiritual activities, just whatever helps weather him through this tough time. Yeah. Michelle says hi. Todd says hi. Pat says hi. Debbie says hi. Cindy, Angel, Fu, one from Malaysia, Maggie, a whole bunch, Raj, Andrea, Emil. Okay, let me see. Now there's some more comments here. Yeah. So Todd says that 266 new cases of COVID-19 reported on Wednesday in Tulsa. I think that was the day that I messaged you, Mark, about please stay out in that weekend. Don't go for the rally. Yeah, I remember. I was praying that you all are not going to be crazy.
Ask Todd, how's the situation in Sydney? Because I know Melbourne is
Melbourne's locked down, right?
Yeah, Todd is in Sydney. Yeah. So
Todd, I'm sure, is going to answer us very soon. Maggie says learning to move from less resourceful to a more resourceful state. Yeah. Thanks, Maggie. Jacqueline, good points you brought up in this discussion. Thanks, Jacqueline. Hi from Nuna.
Nuna, Cambodia.
Okay, yes. All right. Oh, I like this, Maggie. You are the average of the 5 people you hang out with.
I like that. Do you believe that, Mark? What do you think of that?
I think that, I think that's true. So I think if you're hanging around with a bunch of people that are negative and a problem, then you're going to probably have a lot of negative thoughts and you're going to find yourself in challenging situations. So I think you certainly want to surround yourself with the right people that have the right motives and also want the best for you.
Right. I must admit, I've got a group which I hang out, and if I include them as part of the average, I think I'll be screwed.
Well, again, remember I said that I used to have girlfriends like that, but you know what? We have to stand up and be the whatever they call you. They're going to give you a hard time and go, oh, you just have to be different. You have to always be so positive. You have to be this and that. But at some point, they're going to appreciate it. Or if you're going to be tough on them and say, you know what? I did not come here to have this black festival with everyone and get angry about this or that and be moody and blame the world, right? So I think it's the choices we make. All right. So Todd's answer. You're right. About the weeds. Okay.
The weeds.
Water the flowers, not the weeds. Thank you. In the same weeds. I'm thinking of weed too. I'm sorry.
I also liked his modification of my example of writing them down and throwing them away. He suggested writing them down, but then reframing them into something positive. And I think that's a really healthy way to do that. So
definitely. Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, reframing is something that I think we talk about a lot of the time. I think for some of us, reframing is really very easy. But sometimes, if you don't really process the negatives that you've gone through and you try to quickly reframe it or just focus on the positives, it's going to come back and hit you at some point. So you have to sit with the difficulties and the challenges and recognize there is a blessing that's coming from it, right? Yes. I think that the term reframe is so important to be able to see the good in the bad. But for a lot of people, they just focus on positive thinking. Like, let's just ignore the negative things. Let's just look at the positives. And that's where I think sometimes it fails. And that's talking from my own personal experience. Before I even started all this EQ work, I know I was reframing, but at the same time, I just didn't want to go into those negative states. I didn't want to deal with the negativity. So, we all work differently, but at least we can share and figure out, if it works for you, why not give it a try?
I thought maybe towards the end, maybe we'll share like a case study, and it's always good to quote.
Case study.
Well, not like a case study, but just a little,
all right.
little mention.
I have my clappers. Can I smack you?
As long as the case study isn't me, I think I'm good with this.
Well, it's more like a slapper, not a clapper.
I know it's a smacker for you, Granville. So since you said you given me the. Usually people give me thumbs up, but you always say that this is you giving me a slap. So I decided to bring these to give it back to you. And listen to the sound effect.
That's
loud, right?
With a nice slap. But okay, so back to our discussion about hopefully we can each think of a little, when I say case study, just a mention. So I've got a friend and he's probably listening in. He's a very good friend of 32 years. And at the beginning of, would have been probably March, both of us. Now he is Singapore's best sports MC, pretty popular, doing very well for the last how many years, all the marathons, the biathlons, and all those sports events. He's like the head MC right in front, motivating people. And can you imagine, that's when he has to be with crowds, like crowds. And so when that ended, when COVID came, boom, gone. And then he asked me, so how's your business? I say, well, I don't have to handle that big crowd, that larger crowd. And then, of course, things happen, right? But let me share with you what he's done, as a result of, first of all, him being idle for a while and probably staring at the ceiling. He managed to marshal his aunties and all to make some very traditional cakes for his, well, at least they call them Malay kuehs. And so he started a business and it's thriving now. So now he's got an option, right? If things get back to normal, he can go back to do his emceeing. If things don't go back to normal, he can expand his business by getting all these old aunties to make the cakes, right? While he can, of course, either deliver or get people to deliver it. And that suddenly becomes a new business from nowhere, right? That wasn't even part of his plan. And it just dropped from nowhere.
Okay. Ask him to hire us to come and eat those cakes. We'll be the food tasters. I'll be a food taster. And we got a food taster volunteering over there from the US.
He's given a sampler. So because of this mention, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get 2 boxes of samples over Sunday or something.
Can you pass some over here, please? Don't be so selfish, Granville.
How about the two?
Think about it. Okay.
I won't think about it. So that means I'll probably do it. Yeah, we'll try. Do you know of anyone who's done something about the last, say, couple of months where you know of? I mean, we can think of organizations who've transformed. Like I remember Andrea talking about GE, right? GE suddenly started to make
the ventilators,
right? And of course, they deal with totally different things.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, what about the two of you? Do you know of anyone who's managed to turn things around and thrive as a result?
I think there are a number of cases. I mean, I think about our Greek tavern here in Singapore, Bakalaki, when they had to close. I'll put in our little word here for them. They ended up doing all these packed meals for the healthcare workers. And I think all over the world, there have been a lot of restaurants and a lot of businesses that, and they're not even making money out of it. It's just to keep their staff employed, keeping their staff doing work, doing delivery. And so there's been a lot of service that's been going out to people. I think next week we're having Debbie come along, so I'm not going to spoil it. Debbie will share a little bit about this initiative that she started. Maybe over to you, Mark, if you want to share your case study, so I won't hog the time.
Well, I was just thinking about this system that I previously still am working in for another day or so, but it's full of teachers, and we teach career and technical education. So it's skilled trades, construction trades, welding, things like that. So this is very hands-on work. And during this time, they've been very inventive in how they are planning to restart for next year's school year, because they're going to have to incorporate a lot of virtual learning. And to their credit, they've come up with some really fascinating ideas of how they're going to engage their students via distance, even though historically what we've always done has been very lab-based, training and work. So that's going to be fascinating. The technology is only going to grow from there, and it might become just the norm of what the world looks like as we move forward.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So really it's about getting creative, innovating, finding a new way to survive in this world. But even before COVID-19, I mean, that was the buzzword for a long time, right? This VUCA world that we're going through, we have to know how to be resilient and take on the changes and adapt. I mean, we started doing resilience programs almost a year already, right, Gran?
Yeah. I think all of us need just to realize that we are all actually naturally resilient. Yeah, I know, Mark, this is not something you want to hear at this point, but it's so true. We will go through crisis, and we've always been able to pick up the pieces in every. Well, I mean, now Mark, you're just 49 now, so.
Are we saying each other's ages?
Right.
Are we going there again?
Right,
Have we not given that up from last week's session? We don't learn, do we?
This is his thing. This is going to be his thing.
Like, we always give some small little discounts.
Yes. But, all right. Yes, so entertain the audience.
Right. This reminder that we are all actually naturally resilient, and things will pick up. And of course, things don't just get picked up if you don't do anything. But just being able to have that outlook and possibility thinking that there's great opportunities out there, and it's just out there for the taking.
Yes. All
Any
right.
parting words, Mark, before
Yes.
like an automatic mark my words?
Oh Lord.
Yes, leave
I
your
just
mark of
yeah,
excellence,
and
please.
I'm
Leave your
gonna
mark of excellence.
a mark of excellence. I actually posted this video just this morning, and I'd like to tell all these people the same thing. You know, I think all those days behind us are their bricks and their cinder blocks, and they can either weigh you down and you carry them around, or you build walls with them, or they can become steps that you put at the ground and you move forward from those. And it's all a mindset of how you choose to want to deal with those. But I think if you're positive and you want to move yourself forward, then you can place that on the ground. You can use that as a step to move yourself onto something better and more.
That's really nice, Mark. Thank you.
Nice.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
guys
Mark.
very much.
Okay.
And good
Be
morning. to you.
safe. Yes.
And
Stay
enjoy
safe.
it.
Stay healthy.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark.
I'll see you guys later.
See you, Nate.
See ya.
See you next time.
All
Soon.
right.
Very soon. So, Marion,
Okay, we have not
go.
much time left. I
That's
think we
right.
said we would end at 8:45, but maybe not.
Well, as expected, right?
It's okay. All right. Everybody's been really nice with the comments. So thank you so much, everyone, for all your comments. Definitely, given us some really good points there. Yeah.
So we are still deliberating on next week's program, but I think we did tell Debbie Bailey from Hong Kong we'll get her in the show.
Well, I think we should just, last week we talked about passion. It really leads into how do we, work through this difficult time. And now it's really about this theme seems to have come up over and over, initiatives and being creative.
Right.
So, in terms of, we'll come up with a title over time, but I think the focus will be how can you innovate in a time like this, right? So first is getting over your own personal crisis, but how do you innovate?
Right. So just for a few people who are listening in, I know I told Todd, I told Jenny as well, Jenny Schmoll from South Africa. We will talk about the topics. In fact, some really interesting topics coming up. I know Todd has got tons of things to talk about as well.
Okay.
So
I have a few friends lined up, but we'll do yours first.
No. We don't have to do
Can we do yours first? Go ahead. You have it planned. It's okay. No worries. We've got Debbie coming in. We've got Todd coming in, and you've got Jenny coming in. So that will leave us for the next 3 weeks.
That's right.
So we'll see how that goes. And then, flexible as usual.
That's right.
So thanks. Thank you, everyone, for your comments.
That's right. So thanks, everyone, for listening in. And we will see you next week with a topic we have not thought about yet. But we will.
But do give us suggestions if there's something that you feel like you want to talk about, or you feel that in this point it might help you, it might help someone else. Do spread the word, share with other people about this live show that we're doing every Thursday. I think so far we're pretty good. We're keeping it to Thursday night. And we'll see you all next week.
That's
so
right.
Good night, stay safe, or good morning to some of you in another country. Right? Stay safe, be healthy, and
That's right. Good night, everyone. Take care.